Hello, hello, hello. My name is Robert. I am the recovery guy, and you have entered into The Fix. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Robert, and I am the recovery guy. How I got here, it's as surprising to me as it is to you, but here I am in front of this microphone sharing to you the experience, strength, and hope that I have gained over the years. Are you ready for this? So here's the deal. Got sober in Las Vegas. So any of you out there thinking you can't get sober where you're at, put it to rest, because not only was drugs and alcohol and gambling and pornography, all of those things were available, but they had lights. I mean, that would attract you. I mean, they packaged their behavior, their distraction, their alcoholism, their gambling, everything that is wrong with me, they attracted me with lights. And here I sit. My sobriety date is April 25th of 1986. If that doesn't impress you, are you ready for this number? 13,908 consecutive days I have made a decision to not burn my life to the ground. Now, I've made other mistakes along the way, and if you know me very, very good at all, you know what those mistakes are. However, because I got involved with a program that believed that recovery was available, getting well, being restored to normalcy, sanity, all those things that we strive for and never achieve. So we drink, we use, we engage in other negative behavior that takes us farther from the center where we want to live. And we live there today in our recovery. And I want to share with you some of the aspects, actually a specific aspect that oftentimes gets overlooked, yet we know it's there when we come across it. So bear with me just for about 25 minutes, and we're going to discuss this thing that is invisible, yet we know when it's not there. And it is the attraction that got us, that kept us into the rooms long enough for this thing called recovery to take root, to take place, the few set of rules that we need to follow to get well. And I'm not as well as I hope to be tomorrow, but hopefully I'm weller than I was yesterday. And if you saw me yesterday and you see me today, maybe you can do that compare and contrast. Anyway, I had the greatest privilege. I'm going to share a couple stories with you because that's what I do. I recently had an opportunity to go out and, again, Melissa, thank you. Huge shout out to Melissa and Cedar House Life Change Center. And what an exhilarating time I had. And Daniel, he allows me to not only obviously come in, because they bring me in to be the speaker at their alumni day. But one of the things that Daniel allows me to do is interact with the participants. So this case, in the morning for 90 minutes, I had the males, and for 90 minutes after lunch, I had the females. And boy, 90 minutes is just a window of time. We want to speak truth into the life of those who are seeking the recovered life that we have found. So the next day, I had a great time, by the way. And again, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you, Cedar House Life Change Center in Bloomington, California. If you're ever looking for an entity to support practically or tangibly, that is the place to do that, because their investment is in the trenches working with men and women who are trapped in this thing we call addiction. Having said that, so as powerful as Friday was, there was a carryover effect. So here I am Saturday morning. I get there a little early because I want to walk around and say hello to the men and the women I had met the previous day. So I go up to this young lady and I said hello, and she was doing everything. What a humiliating, humbling position. She was emptying trash. And I went up to her and I said, "Hi, how are you? I remember you from yesterday." And she told me that she had 60 days clean, but she was going to leave the program 30 days early. 90-day program. She was going to leave on day 60. And then I came into the room and I exchanged and interacted with them, and she decided she was going to stay. You know, when you're involved in those kind of miracles, it encourages you to come back, to share more, to be up. And I only recognized this young lady facially, and we didn't really interact one-on-one, and yet her receptive nature to hear a message of hope, even though she was leaning the other way, and me supplying that message of hope to her and interacting and letting her know her value, she decided to stay. And I looked over and I saw her husband and her 2 kids, and I thought, I would stay too. If I could go back and not lose all the things I lost, I would do that. And she, and hopefully she's still there. And being prepared. 90 days is 90 days. And some of us, it may not seem like a long time, but if you've never been sober 30 days or 40 days, 90 days is an eternity. So thank you again, Melissa and Daniel, for putting me in that position to have that impact. Then, the night before last, I get a phone call, and it's from this person named Joe. Joe was a man I had met on Friday and then met again and spent some time with on Saturday. He called me and said, "You gave me your number, and I was just looking to see if you would answer." Is that not crazy or what? I was looking to see if you would answer. Well, if you know me or much about me and the people I hang out with, our phone is never off the hook, right? You never get a busy signal. It may take us a minute to get back to you, but we always get back to you. So this person said to me, "I'm 60 days clean. I'm living with my mom. I'm hoping to see my wife and my children in September, and I was just calling to say hi and hope you meant what you said." And I was so humbled. I spent 45 minutes, and I would have spent longer on the phone with this young man, because that's what we do for each other. Thank God the men and even some women, but primarily the men, were there for me when I arrived. If not, what was I to do? Where was I to go? There was no place left for me to go. There was no surrender available because I had lost everything. And so I would reach out to people, and they reached back. And that's what I want to talk about today. So anyway, chasing that rabbit trail, let me come back, let me close out, and then we'll go on. So I talked with this fellow, and I find out that he doesn't have the resources or the finances to get a basic text of NA, which is the counter book to AA, big book. NA's got the basic text. So I was able to send him one, and he got it yesterday. He confirmed that. And then I have this really good friend named Mike. And Mike is got, I think, going on 8 years, if not 8 years, in being clean in NA, and he lives in Southern California. So I was able to connect them. So not only was I able to realize the fellowship need that this person had, I was able to meet his specific and tangible need in a basic text, and then I was able to be a part of the introduction to him, someone who's very involved in NA and along this recovery journey. Wonderful wife, fantastic children and grandchildren, and he's excited about all those things, and that's what happens. So let me get to the topic of today, and if you know me very much, you know I love to talk, and you know I love words, because words have meaning. And when we understand the definition of that meaning and expand it into our own personal and even sometimes professional life, it takes on a life of its own. And this is a topic that Melissa asked me to speak on when I went to Cedar House Life Change Center. And that word is community. Don't you just love that word? Community. And sometimes I am guilty of just downplaying that word, not understanding the fullness of that word, and yet it means so much. So let me give you some of the definitions of community, and let's see where we can take this and tie it into recovery and our main purpose and goal. So community is a social group. This is from dictionary.com, by the way. I would like to retain all this information and tell you I'm this smart, but I'm reading off a sheet right now. It's a social group of any size whose members reside in a specific locality, share government, and often a common culture and historical heritage. A locality inhabited by such a group, a social, religious, occupational, or other group sharing common characteristics or interests and perceived or perceiving itself as distinct in some respect from the larger society within which it exists. The community of scholars is what it says. And then it goes down to say a group of associated relations sharing common interests or a common heritage. Wow. Does that not describe what we find when we enter into a 12-step or recovery opportunity? Community is so important for us. I had coffee with a wonderful friend of mine. We're just becoming friends, and it's fabulous. And I had coffee with this person yesterday, and just between us, we had a community because it says a common characteristic which we have. In a social group of any size, there was two of us. That is any size. And we chatted sometimes intentionally, sometimes we just drifted. We chatted for 90 minutes, and it's like, what happened in 90 minutes? It was just gone. We came in such great agreement, and I had already had a fantastic day with Heather and Brighton Treatment Center, and we go in there every Wednesday and work with our residents, and then every other Monday with their IOP clients. And I was already on cloud nine because of the interaction that Heather and I had with this group of people seeking the same thing that we had found. And then I have a little more fellowship later in the day, and then I top it off with this opportunity with this person, which was fabulous. Then on my way home, I'm engaged in a phone call. I'm talking. I'm understanding the value and the power of community as I go along my recovered day. So if you're amazed and wondering how I got 13,908 days in a row, just look to community. Now, community only takes us so far, and I'll sideball this, I'll chase this rabbit, and I'll come back to the importance of community because that is our topic for today. And Lord knows I never met a rabbit trail I didn't want to chase. Coming back to the trail is my challenge. And so if our community is not backed up with substance, if it was all community, and matter of fact, here's the deal. Let me get back to it now. So if it's not backed up by substance, community will only take us so far. So then I get a message from this person that I had coffee with yesterday that they had taken a sponsee, a newcomer, up to another meeting that this person lives like an hour away, 45 minutes away. So took this newcomer to a meeting to experience community. They, because remember, a community can be any size group. There was 2 of them in the vehicle. They drove all the way up for 45 minutes, went to this meeting that was at least an hour, got in their car and came back for 45 minutes. So this person who is relatively new to the program of recovery was around this recovered person, experienced community in varying sizes. I would imagine where they went to this meeting, it was probably, 30 to 40 people there. So this person got the exposure of a community, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, and the meat to that sandwich was experienced community with 30 or 40 people sharing the common characteristic. What is the common characteristic? The common characteristic is that I don't know how to live. And because of the pain that's associated with not knowing how to live, I require medication. And usually that medication isn't going to the doctor saying, "Doc, help me straighten this thing out." This medication is alcohol, drugs, negative behavior, a negative mindset, anything that will distract us from the pain associated with our life experience as we are experiencing it that very moment. So community is the bridge that takes me from my hopelessness, which only seems that way because I was never hopeless. It only seemed that way. It's the bridge. Community is the bridge that gets me to the place where I can acquire recovery tools, a set of rules of something that I can use to help clear all that junk away that gives me free sailing. An example, the other day coming back from down south, I live in West Jordan, and so I was coming back from down south and about 40 miles away, and there was a time where the freeway, I don't know if it was an accident or just nutty drivers, probably a combination of the two, although it could have been nutty drivers just being nutty. And I'm coming back and I notice a bottleneck. And so I adjust my speed. I made correction. I got in the right lane. I slowed down 15 miles an hour and trying to ascertain where the congestion was coming from so I could work around it. And I did. And I got to the other side and it was free sailing. And so I was in a bottled up community. I broke free from that because I put in place some simple rules that I knew would help alleviate or minimize the challenge, the concern, which was the bottleneck, and I'd get to the other side safely. That is what community does. And I love how it talks about a social, religious, occupational, or other group sharing common characteristics or interests. What are they? Well, the common characteristic is I was an alcoholic and a drug addict of the hopeless type. Regardless of what you said to me, how you said it, when you said it, who you were when you said it, what value, what importance, what position were you in my life. I could not relate to you, nor you could not relate to me. The further I got in my addiction, the less I was able to relate to you. Because as it says, my life seemed the only normal one. And you're looking at me thinking, what a knucklehead you are. Don't you see that you're destroying lives of everyone around you? And my response was, don't you see that you telling me is the problem? I'm not the problem. You're the problem. Get off my back. Stop bothering me. Stop telling me how wrong. I already know that I'm broken. You don't have to remind me that I'm a mess. You don't have to remind me that I probably have no hope. I couldn't be a part of their community any more than they could be a part of mine. I wanted to be a part of their community. I just couldn't get there without medication. And they were looking at me saying, stop the medication. We want you to be a part of our community. We want you to be a part of our family. We want you to engage with us and love us the way we love you. But I just wasn't capable. I wanted to so badly, but I just couldn't. I couldn't find that bridge. The bridge was broken. You understand what I'm saying? You remember feeling that way. And then I walked into the rooms of treatment. I walked into the rooms of recovery, and they had pre-established a community that I could just come and be a part of. And it blew me away. It blew me away so much that I just couldn't believe that you wanted to know more about me and weren't rejecting me as you learned. And I'm looking at you thinking, I thought I was nuts. I thought I was crazy. You're out there. And there were some people I thought, wow, you didn't do nearly as much as I did, and yet you're here. And then other people I thought, like I previously said, you need further help. You're a very sick and twisted individual. And they were only experienced a different bottom, a further bottom than me. And yet, no matter where we fall in that category, whether we're not as sick as the next person, we're as sick as we need to be, or we're sicker than most, the community is one size fits all. My dear friend, God rest his soul, he died in a relapse. It was very, very tragic. Tom Bennett, he said, he was my detox counselor and dear friend along the way. Tom said that the program of recovery is like a giant adjustable wrench that will fit any nut that walks in. Isn't that hilarious? I think that's so funny because I was that nut. I was that out of control person who thought they were in control because, as it says, our life seems the only normal one. We're no longer able to differentiate the true from the false. So I think I'm right. And everything that you're telling me that doesn't agree, that doesn't make my feel good, you are wrong. And then I come into this community, and I'm not saying it had to take a deep breath. It didn't have to take a deep breath to absorb me, but it took that deep breath. It didn't change. It didn't say, uh-oh, Robert Pardon's here. What are we going to do now? Because this guy is pretty sick. It didn't do that at all. It just took a deep breath, made room for me, and then collapsed around me. So I felt the feeling, the warmth, the welcomeness, the ability to overcome anything as long as and that was my real attraction to the rooms of AA. And I primarily went to AA, even though I was a compulsive overeater, addicted to pornography. So, of course, I qualified for SA, Gamblers Anonymous, and, of course, Narcotics Anonymous. I was, like, hitting all these cylinders. But alcohol was always my core. I wouldn't do these other things eventually. I moved away from all of them. But alcohol was the foundation for me to doing any of them. I tell people all the time, you know, if I did drugs or went back to strip clubs or what have you, eventually I would probably drink. No, let's take that back. I probably would drink immediately is more the truth, because those wouldn't fill the hole in me that exists as an untreated alcoholic. Conversely, if I drank, I would get back to these things if the alcohol didn't kill me first, but it would take me a minute because alcohol, as a recovered alcoholic, as a person who has the phenomenon of craving, that would do okay for a while, and then even the alcohol wouldn't be enough and I would need to go back. So thank you for letting me make that correction. I love the next association, the next definition of this word, a group sharing common interests in a common heritage. Don't you love that? A common interest. Well, what is our interest? Our interest is twofold. Our interest is to be understood, and our interest is to get well. To be understood and to get well. There was a spiritual advisor I had years ago. His name was Glenn Moffat. He's since passed away. Very sad tragedy in his death, and he died in June of 2002. And so Glenn told me that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. So in this community, I had an opportunity to sense and to absorb and to be a part of your caring. And that's what we do because we have a common interest, and they felt for me in ways that other people didn't feel for me before. The other people, it wasn't that they didn't feel for me, it was just in the way that they were feeling. They didn't understand me any more than I understood them. They wanted to understand me and I wanted to understand them, but once again, that bridge, there was nothing between the moat, right? There was the land, there was the water, and then there was the castle. And unless the bridge came down, you couldn't get inside the castle, right? Or couldn't get out of the castle. And they were locked in the castle, couldn't reach me, and I was on the other side of the water and I couldn't reach them. But I came into this community of people seeking recovery who had been through the same thing I had been through. We had a common goal. We had a specific locality, which was the 12-step meeting, and we had a common culture and historical heritage. All those things are true, and I won't discuss them or break them down for you today. But don't you just love the word community? Aren't you glad that AA is not therapy, NA is not therapy? I know a lot of people try to hijack it and think that it's therapy, but it's not. It's a community where we share solutions on how we got well, how we recovered, and the bridge, which is community, that took us from the hopeless state of mind and body to that of hope, to that of sober, to that of sobriety, to that of recovered, to that of well, of sanity, of normalcy. And now it says that if tempted, we will recoil as if from a hot flame. And in the past, before this community, if tempted, I drank. If tempted, I used. If tempted, I gambled a paycheck. I did whatever I needed to do when tempted. Now, when tempted, I recoil as if from a hot flame. And what's great is that it says, I didn't even do it. It just seemed to happen automatically. I've entered a position of neutrality. It means I don't care. You can drink around me or not drink around me. It doesn't affect me whether you don't drink, and it doesn't affect me that you do. Because I have understood community. I've understood that there is a solution. It says we have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and join in brotherly and harmonious action. Isn't that the community? I love the preamble. It says Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share. That is community. That is a group whose members have a specific locality and have a common heritage, have a common characteristic or an interest or perceived or perceiving itself as distinct in some respect from the larger society. And we are distinct. We are a thumbnail. We are just a sketch of society as a whole. Because alcohol is not the problem. If alcohol was the problem, everyone who drank would need AA. We are a snapshot of the larger society. And all the more reason we need to be a strong community. Everyone who has recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body understands this. And if you have yet to cross that bridge, if you have not understood the value of community and fellowship, I invite you to that. There's a lot of people just like me who understand the value of community, who understand the importance of sharing, who understand no matter how long we're sober and clean, and I know people much longer than me, we understand the importance of reaching out, and that is the responsibility statement. I want the hand of AA to be there, and for that, I am responsible, and I'm responsible for you understanding the value of community. Gosh, I hope this makes sense. I've gone 29 minutes and 17 seconds. and I will stop there. I want to thank you for being a part of this crazy life that I've been allowed to live and breathe and experience. And I want to invite you into this community. As you will see, as I have seen, this community is waiting for you. Please reach out to me. Let me know. If you live in another area, another state, it doesn't matter. I will talk to you and we will help find your community in your area. Check out recoveryguy.org, recovery_guy. Obviously, Recovery Guy podcast, where you probably found me. And in the next day or so, this will even be on my YouTube channel, Real Recovery Guy on YouTube, Real Recovery Guy. And I want you to join us in this community because the path of wellness is not alone. It is together. And like I always say, we were broken apart and we get whole together. My name is Robert. I am the Recovery Guy. Thank you so much for joining me today.